Guys, I've been making videos and talking on camera for 10 years now, like for a living for 10 years. And every time the beginning of these videos is always the hardest for me. It's hard for me to get on a roll and get going. But hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to today's episode of Tea Talk. I have my tea, it's very full, it's brimming. This is actually my second or third tea of the day, so very exciting times. Before we hop into today's chit chat, I wanted to throw out there that if you didn't know, this series is back on my channel now. I have done quite a few of these over the years, but they were typically interviews that I would do with other people. I would bring people on that I, just valued what they had to say, wanted to have a conversation with them. And I recently, as in like this last week, decided that I wanted to bring Tea Talk back, except it's just me talking with my tea. And eventually, I'm sure I will bring people back onto Tea Talk again. It just was something that I kind of wanted to get going. And to those of you that also don't know this, Tea Talk is actually available on podcasts. When this goes up, I'm actually hoping that this will be like back in the groove. So the last episode should be up. This episode should be up, and I'm trying to get it on iTunes and Spotify. So for those of you that have said that you would prefer to listen and not watch or not have the video playing, I will have those links down below for you to check out. So, and my last episode, wow, I didn't expect that video to go over, I guess you could say, as well as it did. I basically just addressed the question that I get all the time, which is what made us change our mind, what made me change my mind about having babies. And I thought that I had kind of explained that through my videos. The birds again, man. Dude, my windows are fully closed and the bird sounds like it's in the room. Like 3 minutes ago, the lawnmower from the neighbor was going off and I was like, how come everybody wants to mow their lawns when it's time for me to film? Anyways, yeah, so I realized that I hadn't actually addressed that in just like one video. So that's what I did. And I really appreciated all of your guys' feedback. And I wasn't sure where to go next because I feel like I have like 652 million topics that I want to talk about. And I was about to say some things I don't want to talk about. That's kind of a side note. I actually noticed when I was perusing the comments that there were a lot of people that would say to me like, oh, it's sad that Nikki has to like muffle her opinions or that she can't speak more boldly about the things that she believes in. And actually this is a kind of a good place to start this, to kind of jump off into this whole story and topic, because there's going to be a lot to this, just like everything that I run my mouth about. There's always like a lot to it. But this is kind of a good jumping off point because this applies to a lot of things. First off, I'm a weird mix of like, I'm very opinionated. Yes, don't get me wrong. But I also don't necessarily like feel like my opinions are right. So some people that were like, I wish Nikki could speak more confidently in her beliefs. Part of me was like, well, I don't really want to. Like, and I don't think that everybody is like, just everybody should be like speaking confidently in their opinions. Like, I think that's kind of something we've all noticed with social media and the internet in general, that like we all just like feel like we have to put our voice into the ring. Now it's kind of ironic because I'm sitting here like putting my voice into the ring, but I also just want you guys to know that like, I'm open to a lot of things. So part of the reason that I don't get online and just like proclaim what I think and feel so firmly about everything, although the irony is some other people were like, I love how outspoken you are with your opinions. So it's, it's all perception, right? But part of that is because I am very much someone who, like, I enjoy seeking out truth. And I think that life is so complex. And I know a lot of people don't like the word nuanced, but I think it is that I enjoy the pursuit of hearing other perspectives, other people's stories. So it's also just not in my personality necessarily to be like, hey everyone, this is what it is. This is my opinion. I'm right. You're wrong. Blah, blah, blah. Now that whole long intro, I still might sound like all of those things in this video. You might be like, what are you talking about? Here you are airing your opinion on the internet, sounding super confident. But just I saw those comments and I was just like, guys, there's not really like, I know some people were like, I hope she becomes more bold. The only thing in my life that I really, like at this point, hope to become more bold about in my words and in the things that I express is to, I guess you could, for lack of a better phrase, although this is a great phrase, I guess, is to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's something that I've dove deep into theology over the last few years. This has been an exploration of mine for most of my life, side note, because I was raised in a Christian family, but really I started diving down into, trying to get questions answered, trying to learn and grow more within the last 7 years. And that's something that I do feel like I want to share it with people. But I'm still, I'm learning. I'm gathering my thoughts and my opinions and my perspectives and how to really explain myself. So, but as far as other things, I don't even know. This whole intro might be totally gone because I'm like, does any of this make any sense? I'm going to jump in because it's been a long intro. And today we're going to be talking about my kind of health and wellness, food, diet, lifestyle philosophy. So that's a long description. But I'm going to back up because I think a lot of you maybe are wondering how I got into all of this, what my journey has looked like with health and wellness. If you watched my video called My Virus Story that I uploaded a couple of months ago, kind of near the beginning of all of the stuff that has been going on right now with the virus. I uploaded that video. You can check that out. I'm not going to go into a bunch of details right now, but really just to throw my story into the mix of anecdotal evidence in the world of people who have been really positively affected from high dose intravenous vitamin C therapy. And that, goes back to when I was in high school. So you can check that out if you want. But my journey into health really started long before that. So I'll just start from the beginning. I grew up in a kind of healthy home. My mom would say that her family was not, they were not health conscious. They weren't trying to educate themselves. It wasn't a family that was super into educating themselves on health and nutrition and diet. And so when my mom, grew up and left the family, that was kind of something that she became really interested in. And it really became health and wellness and diet and all of that, and vitamins and just caring for yourself in a more natural fashion became a deep passion of my mom's, especially as she's just progressed farther in life and gotten older. And so I was raised by a mom who came from a not health conscious background, but she was really health conscious. And part of that, it was twofold, I think, for my mom. I mean, I don't want to speak for her, but this kind of affects my story as well. It's kind of twofold for her. Part of it was, vanity, quote unquote, wanting to stay thin, wanting that, to look good. And a bigger part of it, and I would especially say, especially now in her life, even more so, it was to be healthy. That, like I said, that's always been a motivating factor for her. But it was both. And honestly, I think for most people, it's kind of both. You want to look good, but you want to feel good and you want to be healthy. And that, evolved for my mom and my family over the years. I will say I call my mom my biggest cooking inspiration. She laughs when I say that. She's like, what are you talking about? You're a better cook than me. But she legitimately was my biggest cooking inspiration, and is because she is able to just whip stuff up and it's delicious. She never has a recipe for anything, so it's kind of annoying if you're trying to cook something that she's made. But I took that on myself, and I think I cook well intuitively, in a lot of ways because of the base that she gave me. So I grew up enjoying to cook from very young. I remember when I became homeschooled, one of the things that I was super stoked on to be able to do for myself now that I wasn't at school, was cooking meals for myself every day. I have some vivid memories of it's lunchtime and I want to make a homemade pizza. And so I've always been really interested in food. Now, one thing you might know about me also, if you've been following my channel, is that I grew up a dancer, a full-on dancer. We're talking dancing 6 days a week. Some days I was at the dance studio from 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 o'clock at night. It was definitely I say our because it was me and my sisters, but our main pursuit and hobby. I also taught dance from age 15 to 19, which kind of has nothing to do with it, but it does because things get a little weird for me. They got a little weird for me in my teenage years because I cared about health. I was raised with the perspective of health, but anyone that, especially during that time period, it's interesting. I was just talking to my chiropractor about this yesterday. In the time that I was growing up, sports were really like, coaches were really of that mindset of like, take an Advil and keep going. Like, pain is weakness leaving the body, just push. I think a lot of that mentality has started to make a little bit of a shift in recent years of people like realizing it's not like worth killing your body of your youth and having all these consequences. But that was definitely the atmosphere that I was around growing up in like the dance world. I was frequently told by dance instructors to just take some Advil, ice it, get up, keep going. And the other thing that comes along with that in the dance world, especially at that time, you're looking in the mirror constantly. You're seeing your body in a leotard and tights or whatever, and you become very judgmental over, I became very judgmental over my own body. And so in my teenage years, my interest with health and wellness got kind of like muddied by a desire to be really, really skinny. And it wasn't even, I say really, really skinny, it wasn't even really, really skinny. It was that I wanted everything to be like perfect. I thought, and part of that was me thinking that if I got skinny enough, that some of the fluffy edges or the dimples, the cellulite, whatever, would kind of hopefully melt away and it would just be like my muscles showing through. And I learned that luckily it didn't take too long to learn the lesson that was not a good mindset. I made myself pretty sick and tired. I did a video about this years ago about like my eating disorder basically in high school, end of high school, 18, 19. I had a lot of weird things going on though. So I was dealing with that. Also, if you watched my virus story, you know that was around the same time, like kind of near the end of that period of time where my sister and I ended up getting sick. We had been, like I said, I'm not going to go off into that, but we got sick for a very long time. That's what I talked about in the virus story video. And it was crazy the path that we went down. Growing up with a mom that's really into all of this health stuff, I was exposed to a lot of ways of eating, supplementation, all kinds of like weird health and wellness techniques that have become a lot more mainstream. Keep in mind, I also grew up in Los Angeles, California. So not only did I grow up with a mom who was into the health and wellness stuff and, diet, like nutrition and all of that, but I was in LA. So there are so many things that are more mainstream now that I was exposed to via my mom or other natural practitioners that she took us to when I was younger. Stuff will be, even like brought up to me, like, have you tried this? Have you looked into this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I did that back when I was like 17, or like early 20s or whatever. That's something I feel pretty like lucky about because there's not like been a whole lot of stuff in like recent years that have been, that's been brought up to me that I haven't ever looked into or had direct experience with or talked to a natural practitioner about. And so that's pretty cool. Now I've done a lot of diets. I can't remember all of them. I was a raw foodist for a little bit. I was a vegan for a little bit. I was a vegetarian for years. I did the blood type diet. I tried to do paleo, like basically like a keto. I know that they're different, but basically just super low carbs. Tried to do that actually 2 or 3 different times in my life because one time I basically did South Beach. I did South Beach, which is basically in the similar vein. South Beach is a lot more focused on processed foods, or at least it was back then. I was so young. I was in high school. Shouldn't have touched that. I've done anti-inflammatory diets. I've tried cutting out certain food groups based on foods that doctors who practice kinesiology and muscle testing have told me that I need to cut out. I've tried a bunch of different things, and that's been part of the frustration with my joints over the years. Is a lot of people want to jump to health concerns, cutting gluten or lowering the carbs, which I know are different, but I've never really had the greatest results, honestly, from any of the diets that I've done. Like I've been inclined to eat a certain way. Eating vegetarian was very easy for me for many years, and dude, staying thin while being a vegetarian was like really easy. I never fought any weight gain when I was vegetarian. But basically what happened was after like 4 or 5 years of doing that, one day I basically just started craving a burger. And I thought that that was really weird because I had never really craved meat. Like I was the little girl growing up who like would kind of push my meat off to the side because I didn't want to eat it. And that was actually what drew me to vegetarianism in the beginning, was because I was like, you mean there are people that don't eat meat? Like I don't have to eat meat? And it was very freeing for me. And so that's why I ate that way. But when I started craving meat, I felt like something was up because I was a very healthy vegetarian that supplemented, that ate a lot of greens, that looked for plant-based protein sources, took all my vitamins. I don't know if I already said that. And so I took that as, which kind of leads us to really where I am now in life with my kind of philosophy on health and diet and wellness and all of that. But I took that as a sign from my body saying like, okay, something is up and I obviously need something here from meat that I'm not getting from my diet. And so that's kind of like, I mean, not to jump to the conclusion, I'll probably keep jumping around a bunch because we all know that I talk for 12 and a half years, but kind of to jump to the point of where I sit now in life in regards to diet, because a lot of people will still ask me things like, I'm confused, are you vegetarian? Or like, why are you using Veganase? And basically, I don't want to say like, I'm all about balance, because I feel like that's kind of vague, although that's true. I have come to the conclusion from reading a lot of different books over the years that I don't think everybody responds to different things the same way. I noticed when I was reading a lot of books, for example, back when I read the China study, which to those of you that don't know what the China study is, it's basically the largest documented study that has ever been done on a group of people in regards to their diet and the way they eat, and then examining like the outcomes of like what they get from that in their lifestyle, their diseases, all of that. It's been going on for like 60 something years. And that doctor basically found, actually I don't think he's a doctor, I think he's a scientist, but he basically found the same thing. A lot of the same things were duplicable, if that's the word, over and over. For example, he found that he could turn tumor growth on and off by inserting casein into a tumor. And to those of you who don't know what casein is like a protein within milk. It's actually like, it might be like the main protein, I don't fully remember, which also kind of leads us to another thing. Guys, I'm one of those people, and this is how I am with everything, okay? I research things like crazy. I'm kind of like obsessed with researching things in general in life. I kind of love it. I'm not like super into the Enneagram anymore. That's a long story, but I still like acknowledge it. And I'm an Enneagram 7 according to the Enneagram, which is like someone they're a very head type person. And that really does describe me. I really like researching things. But that being said, I've said this before, I'm not someone that's good at keeping and organizing and cataloging what I have researched to be able to like pull up quick. But I am someone that connects thoughts really well and remembers points. Although sometimes I don't. Sometimes I will read something, study something, and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense for me. This works for me. And then I'll forget years later. I'm like, why did I come to that conclusion? If someone asked me, I like couldn't tell them. But I have a weird memory. To put this in perspective before I keep talking, 2 little examples here. The very first show I ever did growing up was Annie. I actually played Annie in the show Annie. And I learned every single line in that play, like everyone's lines, because that was how my brain worked. I was better able to remember my own lines by knowing the entire story. Like I've never been someone that's good at like just memorize this fact. I have to kind of have a grasp of the fuller picture in order to remember those details, if that makes sense. And back when I used to work at Universal Studios, there was a point where I was a swing, which basically means an understudy. And the director told me, you can understudy as many parts as you can learn. And it was a musical, so there was dancing, singing, acting, all of that. And I ended up learning 19 different parts, like fully different sets of choreography, opposing choreography, the lines, the staging, all of it. And I learned it relatively easily. And I don't say that as like as like a brag, although I guess I am bragging on the internet. I say that to give you a little bit of insight as to how my brain works, because if you're looking to me as the person that's going to like cite all my sources, I'm not. And if you're like, well, then you can't expect us to listen to you if you're not going to cite your source, then don't listen to me. It's totally fine. I'm just like a person on the internet sharing and blabbering. Anyways, I came to a couple different conclusions over those years of like just really consuming and studying nutritional content, which I still do to this day. I still consume nutritional content. But one of the main conclusions that I came to is that everybody reacts to things differently, because if you read enough content, like the China study or whatever, right? There's endless talks and information out there. You will find every single study has science that backs it up and has people that have had very positive effects from doing that. And the thing is, what you're left to wonder after you read all of these like opposing diets and views is like, so are people just lying? Like, are you just lying in different books? Like, what's going on? I did not come to that conclusion, although we will kind of circle back to that in a minute. I came to the conclusion that everybody reacts to things differently. And a lot of people will make the pitch, no, we're all humans. We all have the same systems. We're not different. I don't agree with that, because I think that differences can be more nuanced than maybe even science has caught up to. I mean, the fact that we don't even have a cure for the common cold, like, should say something. I mean, that says a lot of things, but that says something to me, in my opinion. But I think that people, the differences are so tiny. Like, why do people react differently to things? I don't know, but you will find science and testimonials behind every single like really pushed diet or lifestyle that's out there. Now, the other thing, when we circle back to the lying thing, I will say this is another thing that I have found that is really interesting. And this kind of plays into a lot of the stuff that's going on currently in the world in regards to science, health, nutrition, all of that. Science is not, like, a lot of people will say, like, look at the science. The science has proven X, Y, and Z wrong, whatever the case is, or the science proves this right. Well, there's a couple things to that. One, in my opinion, just from what I've been watching, science is not so black and white. Science is the pursuit of truth and the pursuit of repeatable, hopefully, repeatable outcomes to find out what is true. But the problem is, which scientists do you believe? So I noticed that when looking at, nutritional stuff and things having to do with vitamins, and I was going to say supplementation, but that's the same thing. You start to notice this. You're like, okay, well, which scientists do I believe? Like, do I go back and find out what school they came from? And it's like, whoever went to the school that I hold in the highest of esteem, like, that's the scientist that's right. The other thing is, people say this all the time, but it's like, follow the money. Like, who's funding these different scientists that are going down, or doctors that are going down nutritional paths? Oftentimes they're funded by industries that have an investment in that scientist having an outcome that they want because it helps their business. Or it can be funded directly by government because maybe they want a certain outcome. And that's not even to put an accusation on, like, follow the money and you'll find dirty scientists. I mean, yeah, maybe that is what's going on, but I actually still live, and I feel like I live in this space with a lot of areas in life, not just nutritionally or medically. I think, I don't ever want to lose this because this is really what I think, and I've actually been nervous lately that this bubble's going to be busted, but I still think this. I think people have good intentions and are seeking to help people and to do what is right, and are seeking truth. But the problem is, truth is hard to find. Facts always can be, and often are, skewed to support a narrative. Or if they're not being skewed intentionally, facts can be read in a certain way, like they're interpreted. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know why I'm talking like you're going to answer me. Yes, Nikki. Facts are interpreted. You look at facts and then you read them and then you have to come up with some kind of conclusion. But the problem is, and this happens in all areas, a group of people can look at one set of facts and still come out with a different outcome as to what those facts actually mean, what we need to do about them, what needs to be changed, causation, correlation, whatever. People come out with different different outcomes. And that's actually something that, like, whether we're talking about nutrition, science, whatever's going on in the world, that's something that's kind of always bothered me, is like when people will say, educate yourself about whatever. And if you're someone that is into educating yourself, I don't know why that phrase has so much like to it, but if you're someone that is into educating yourself, the question then becomes, who do you listen to? Like I said, how do you verify things, and whose interpretation of facts do you believe? And I think there's, a lot of ways to do it. Like I said, you can look at the money, at the funding, you can look at the people that are funding something and try to decipher if you agree with the outcome that they want to accomplish, or their view. You can look at their schooling, you can look at their faith, you can look at their politics. It's very, I don't know, is the word convoluted? It's hard to tell. And I found with diet over the years, here's the other thing, is being in not only the arts, but also being from such a large city, I have met people from every walk of life with all kinds of different diet and nutritional experience and beliefs and outcomes, and they're all very passionate about it. And a lot of those people really believe that their way of dieting and eating is the right way for everyone. And like I said, being someone that has tried, I hate the word diets, but that's the word I keep using because I feel like that's the word that we understand when I say it. Being someone who has tried a lot of different kinds of diets and never having that magic, like, oh, there it is, it worked. And being someone that, like, when I would do it full on. Like, for example, when I talk to people about not being a vegetarian, I often will get from people that I wasn't doing it right. Now, that might be true, right? I don't think it's true though, because I had dove so deeply into that world. I was aware of what a lot of the nutritional deficiencies can be and how to fill the gaps, and all of that. It just didn't feel right for me. And I know people that have been paleo for a while, or into doing like ketosis stuff. They like to be in the state of ketosis, and they swear that they have never felt better in their entire life than when they're following that diet. Now, circling it back to my personal philosophy and where I sit right now, guys, I sit in the most what's the word, like wimpy, I don't know if wimpy's not the right word, but like you do you mode that I've ever sat in. And I mean, that kind of sums it up. I currently sit in the position of believing that that different people have different nutritional needs, that different people respond differently to different food, and that I think the most important thing that I try to go for in my life now is health. And health all the way around. I really believe in holistic health, mental health, spiritual health, physical health. And I think that if I don't pursue all of those, it's amazing. It actually never ceases to amaze me. I was thinking this the other day because I had dropped the ball in an area of my mental health and I felt just off. If I don't kind of keep watering all, like I kind of think of them all as gardens, right? Like my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health. If I don't take the time to rotate my watering of all of them, it's like everything can become clouded and shadowed by the area that I didn't take care of. So I consider health to be all the way around. And that's not me trying to cop out of the food thing, because I know this was kind of supposed to be a food video. Although at the same time, welcome to my tea talks. We all know. If you've been watching me talk on the internet for a while, I go about 652 different directions in my conversation. Oh my gosh. Dan okay, so I'm upstairs filming right now. Dan's downstairs with Logan. I knew Logan was getting tired. Yeah, he passed out. Can you even see that? You're just getting the glare of the camera. But he passed out on the couch. Not surprising. He seemed tired. So now, I guess we're going to talk about intuitive eating, because that is really the way that I eat and really the way that I live a lot of my lifestyle in regards to health. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about intuitive eating in the sense that, like, how can you just trust your body? What if you just want Doritos and, like, I don't know, French fries and donuts and all of that. So when I say intuitive eating, the way that I eat is intuitiveness, if that's a word, married with like my knowledge, my logic of what I know about health. And the thing is, you know, it's changed. All of life, I feel like, is like that. As you get more information, your opinion and perspective on things change. And I basically just go for what feels right, with the structure or the eyes around, I don't even know how to word this, knowing and feeling and believing that food closest to its natural form is the best. And I think, unfortunately, most of us don't even eat like real food very often. And I mean that in a lot of ways, because I am one of those people that I think, unfortunately, our farming has been really compromised. I think that the chemicals that have been sprayed on everything, and I know there's, just like everything, right? There's a lot of debate around this. This is just how I feel. I feel like a lot of the chemicals that have been introduced into farming practices have messed with the nutritional substance of the food, have messed with the soil. I think a lot of us, we consume just a lot of processed food that started off as food and then was kind of, you know, sliced, diced, fried, coated, frozen, transported, thawed, covered in sugary sauce, whatever, and we're not actually eating food. And the thing is, we can live off of that. Like, obviously, the food that we have going right now, the food system that we have going right now is keeping a lot of people alive, but I don't really think it's helping us thrive. I think that there are a lot of this is the conclusion that I've come to. I think there are a lot of new diseases and problems that exist within our health in the world due to man's intervention. You know, intervention has obviously resulted in a lot of positive things as well. A lot of life-saving tactics have entered the medical field. You know, obviously lifespan has been increased in recent history, but I think it's not a way to thrive the way a lot of us eat. So when I'm trying to eat intuitively, it's always from that lens of like, how close can I eat to the actual original food source? But spoiler alert, it's not that close. Like, even when I'm actually trying, like, it's really interesting how many, this is my view, my perspective, right? How many people think that they're like a relatively healthy person, or that they eat relatively healthy, but really, in my opinion, they don't. I mean, like, I don't even think I eat that healthy. And I'm only saying it like, I don't even think I eat that healthy, because a lot of you guys will comment on how healthy I eat. And if you want my truthful perspective, I don't even think I eat that healthy. I eat so much food that is like 12 steps removed from the original food source. Or I will eat a lot of, you know, produce or animal products that have human intervention in them in the form of, you know, pesticides, chemicals, things are genetically modified, hormones that have been added, antibiotics that have been added. I try to avoid a lot of those things, but sometimes it's not possible, or sometimes I don't have the budget at the moment to want to spend on that. That being said, that is kind of my goal. That is where my mindset is when I talk about intuitive eating. So I'm not by any means just like, I intuitively want a McFlurry, I'm gonna go get a McFlurry. I don't roll like that, because I know it's not good. But at the same time, because I believe that that health is holistic, I do have that stuff sometimes. Like, it's rare, but like when I was pregnant, there were like 3 times, maybe 2 times, where I just wanted like ice cream from a fast food place. I went to Sonic once, and then I went to McDonald's and got a McFlurry once, and I wanted it. And I knew I wanted it so bad that I had to give in. It was like, no, I know that there's an argument between like which is going to be more damaging, right? The actual food that you eat, or like the mental stress. And I felt in those moments that I was like, I need to just live. Like, I want this McFlurry. I'm not even guaranteed tomorrow. That's kind of like a thought that's in my head to balance out everything I ever do. And a lot of people will make comments about that being kind of Debbie Downer, but I don't see it that way, especially because of where my faith, my starting point in my faith. So I believe that after I die, that's just the end of my life here. I believe that my soul is going to live forever, and hopefully my beliefs are true that I'll be in heaven one day. And so there's a big part of me that just, believing that, knowing that, and also knowing like I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. So we make our plans, but we don't know what God has for us. And so there's always that kind of mix in all of the decisions that I make, even food. So it's kind of like Dan and I will talk about, it's like life is a gamble, right? It's this gamble of like, you might live a really long time. Like you might be one of those people that lives into your 90s. So like play the long game, but also it's a gamble because you could die tomorrow or next week. We really don't know. And also, even when you are playing the long game, you might not play the long game right. Like you're just gathering information, processing it, and then making the best decision you can at the time. Like that's kind of life. You just make a decision and move forward. So that being said, the intuitive eating thing, I kind of have those two sides to me of like wanting to eat as close to real food as possible, because I truly think that that is what is best for us and will allow us as humans to thrive more. Now there's details, changes within that, whether you're someone that is a celiac that can't process wheat, or whether you're someone that's like, wow, I feel way better solely on produce, or whether you're someone that's like, yeah, no, I feel best when I'm eating high quality animal products, high protein, high fat diet. People feel better on different things, but I think that all of them share the commonality. In my opinion, this is the conclusion that I've come to, of if you are eating real food, stuff that is meant to be food, came that way, the closer you can eat to that, I think, the better. And, there's been a big resurgence of people gardening. And I think that that's so good, because I think that we have become so efficient in the States at transporting produce, at keeping the groceries stocked, which is great. But in turn, a lot of us aren't eating things, that were even grown in our climate. I'm kind of a believer also of, so back when I read The Kind Diet by Alicia Silverstone, which is like she's a hardcore vegan, but she's not just a vegan. She's also, and I'm blanking on the word, basically someone that eats seasonally and locally. And I remember she was the first person to kind of put that seed in my head. And then I went down that wormhole of like, what does that mean to your health, whether you're eating something that was grown in your area where your body has to live? Like you are in your environment with the temperature, the weather, the sun, the air, all of that. What does it look like to eat within that perimeter versus eating outside of that? And does that affect your health? I remember when she had started me, one of the things she mentioned in her book was back when she was a raw vegan, and she's like, I was in New York doing a play, and it's like break time and it's time to eat, and it's snowing outside, and I'm scouring the city for fresh pineapple juice. And she's like, something in me realized like, wait, if this were like, X amount of time ago, I wouldn't have access to pineapples, because pineapples grow in specific climates, and they have specific, depending on your viewpoint, specific things that they accomplish in terms of cooling the body down, whatever, the list goes on and on, right? Like, why do certain things grow within certain climates? So there's a whole theory around that as well, like eating locally. And I kind of believe it. Now, do I do that? No. Do I try to? Yeah, I try. I make an effort. I'm trying to garden, and that was kind of the whole point of bringing this whole thing back up. I think it is so great that so many people are getting into gardening. Even if you can't replace, which really everybody says nobody hardly can, like replace your grocery produce with all garden produce. It's that I will hear experienced homesteaders say like, yeah, that's like basically not possible because there's so much to do. But even if you're someone that's just like, I just want to grow a basil plant, or I just want to grow whatever, I think it's so beautiful because the lessons that we can learn just by having involvement with one plant are so profound, in my opinion, not only for life, you can apply it to a lot of things in life, but also getting to see how much effort goes into growing food. Something about that is like just like world changing in your mind. At least for me, someone who grew up in the city, did not grow up near farms, didn't ever see how stuff was grown. That's how I've been feeling. It's felt like the missing piece of the puzzle for my interest in health. And cooking is growing my own food. And I think it's so great that so many people are doing that. I think that it also gives you a sense of like, wow, like awe and accomplishment when you eat something that you have grown. And it really, like, man, once again, just gives you that appreciation for how long and complex the process of building life truly is. And so, yeah, that's kind of, that was a long-winded circle to say that's kind of where my head is at. I try to eat intuitively and follow like my appetite. Like, what am I craving? Sometimes I'll question why I'm craving something. You know, I just, and then I follow it based on a lot of things, my mental space, my physical space, the knowledge that I have acquired about health. Because like I said, I don't just like, oh, this is what I want. I'm going for it, because I think there can be a lot of reasons why someone can crave something, including nutritional deficiencies. But I also don't, I don't want to fall down that slope ever again of like an eating disorder, like being so concerned about how, like, looking perfect, which, like, gosh, that's a whole separate topic basically in and of itself. I want to keep my focus on health, because like I said, gosh, guys, sometimes I just ramble and I'm like, where do I even go from here? What I was mentioning about that being a whole separate subject in and of itself, it's like, why does my body have to look perfect? Like, now that I know that that basically doesn't exist, even for like the perfect looking Instagram models, because I realize, like, obviously angles make a big difference. Genetics, like, obviously some people have a more perfect body than others, you know, genetics, but like makeup, airbrushing, photo editing stuff. But like, why do I feel like I have to look perfect? Like, also, why does everybody need to see, like, why does my body need to be on display? Like, hey, look at how perfect I am. Here it is. Like, why? I don't feel like everybody, like, it doesn't serve anyone. That's my point. People looking at me and seeing, you know, if I could be my thinnest, like, that's not going to really do anything for people in terms of like motivating them to do their own like weight loss journey or whatever. But also often it can make people, you know, feel bad. So it's like, why should I even care that much about my body being perfect? Shouldn't I just pursue health, wellness, and yes, enjoyment? And it just is what it is. Like, my body is what it is. And all of that, like, I don't want any of that to be misconstrued as like throwing good habits out the window. Because like I said, pursuing health and wellness, I truly think is important, because if you're not healthy, if you're not well, it's almost like you're putting on a different pair of glasses, and it will, in my opinion, affect the way that you see everything else. It will affect your mental health, because diet, this is fact, guys. Diet affects your hormones, for example. Hormones can affect your mood and your mental health. I think too many of us in society have now associated health with having a good body, whatever that means. And that is so sad to me, because health is should be so much more of a priority. And we don't need to show everyone our body. I mean, this isn't like meant to be a shaming thing for people who want to like get on the internet and like show their weight loss progress. Everybody has different intentions. Everybody, like I said at the beginning, you do you, boo. But I'm speaking to people who maybe were like me. Like why does everyone have to see my body? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't feel like it serves anyone. And it actually feels like the obsession on getting your body perfect can throw off everything else. It can throw off a genuine desire to be healthy. It can throw off your mental health, and it can make you obsessive and sad, because that was really what I realized back when I struggled with my eating issues, when I had that eating disorder in high school, was I realized that no matter how extreme I went, I wasn't getting the body that I wanted. And part of that was body dysmorphia. Like looking back, I see how thin I was at different stages when I dealt with this. So part of it was body dysmorphia, and part of it was because I was never going to have the body that I thought was a perfect body. It wasn't going to happen no matter how skinny I got, no matter how many weights I lifted. And I want to say again, that's not to discourage any of you. Like I know a lot of people will look at like fit people online and they actually will feel motivated for it. Or they're like, no, I want to go for that and I can. And a lot of people do end up looking really great and being really lean and strong. And so I'm also not trying to shut that down. I'm really just speaking from my own perspective of like, I figured out I wasn't going to get what I wanted and then realized, why did I even want that? You know what I'm saying? So it's like a twofold thing. Like I'm never going to get this, but why does my butt need to be perfectly smooth and dimple free? And why do other people have to see how perfectly smooth and dimple free it is? Like my husband loves my body, and I know it's not all about like, your husband loving your body. Like it's about you being comfortable, but the other person that is seeing me naked and is loving up on me and all of that is my husband, and he loves my body. So why would I think that I have to have, regardless of a husband, but that is part of the mix. But why would I think that I have to have a perfectly smooth dimple-free butt? And then why do I think I have to show it to everyone? Like it's not a healthy cycle that I was in, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I'm always really paranoid when I'm blabbering and talking about all of this. I'm just like, I don't want to offend people, even though I figured out that you can offend people no matter what, which is partially why I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to talk. But my heart, I always think, I'm like, if people could just talk to me in person, like maybe then they'd know where my heart really is. And that is a place of like, of love and empathy, and that's like toot toot. What was that? Toot. I was pressing the horn, I guess. Toot toot. I'm such a loving, compassionate, empathetic person. It's not really what I mean, but it's kind of what I mean in the sense that like, if I picked the wrong words in this episode, I just hope that you can know that I'm a spaz, and really underneath my spastic language is empathy for everyone's specific journey, and knowing that everybody is coming from a different place, a different family background, different genetics, different finances, different parts of the world, different cultures. And so everybody's got a different jumping off point. But I wanted to kind of share that with you, where my perspective was in terms of food, because I do get a lot of questions about the way that I eat. It's like, I might be having like a really big healthy salad, or like an omelet full of veggies, which omelets have been my go-to because I have not had the energy to be cooking. Lately, all of my energy is literally just like to make breast milk, just keep my house from not falling apart. So that's been my go-to, but I'll do that and then I'll be like, all right, well, I'm now gonna have like 6 of these lactation cookies, which like, it's the phase that I'm in. And I felt like I wanted to explain it to you guys. Now, when I started on this video, I did have the mindset of like, I was also going to be talking about vitamins. Now that I'm chatting here, I'm realizing we're reaching the end of the video. I don't need to talk for another 2.5 hours, but I will touch on it briefly. And I really do think eventually soon, I will be doing a vitamin and supplements video. The reason that I have been nervous to make that video is what I'm about to tell you. I am extremely liberal with supplementation. And the reason why I'm extremely liberal with my supplementation is because, in my opinion, with all of the stuff that I have watched and read, which you can never watch and read everything on the planet, it's just not possible. But with the content that I've been exposed to, the practitioners that I've met with, I don't feel like there are serious negative implications to supplementing like there can be with prescriptions that are frequently handed out to people like candy from like a general doctor. I was reaching for the words. From like your regular medical doctor. All you have to do is look up the numbers of how many people die every year or have serious side effects from safe prescription medications, and then do research on vitamins. And the numbers don't even like they're not close, at least from everything I've seen. So I'm very liberal with supplementation. Also, because I believe that our soil and our food and everything has been messed with so much, I actually don't even really believe that there is as much nutrition in food nowadays as there was maybe 50, 60 years ago. Now, a lot of people would argue that it's marketing. I've fallen prey to like a business that wants me to believe that. And they might be right about that. I don't know. But everything that I have read and observed, both within myself, experimenting on myself, people that I love, the results that I've seen them have, as well as the doctors that I like and have listened to and hearing their perspective, and then the practitioners that I met with. That was a long list of like explaining myself. I have come to the conclusion that I feel safe taking supplements and taking lots of them. I do get my blood work run every few years, so I have an idea of what's going on in my body. Nothing has ever been completely off kilter, and I have been taking supplements for so long. But that is why I have been a little nervous, because a lot of people are very, like they treat supplements like they treat prescription medication. And in my opinion, it's not the same thing, because people aren't really dropping dead from vitamins like they are from a lot of prescription medication, but also B, it's not really the same. Like a lot of medications, even if they're not prescriptions, let's take Advil for example. You take an Advil, there is pretty much guaranteed a result that is going to happen. Supplementation often is supporting the way that your body already works. So it's not typically like, oh my gosh, I took a vitamin C and I had this response. It doesn't typically work that way. You're supporting your body's systems as a whole. Now, actually, ironically, I said that, but vitamin C is one of the few vitamins where I actually do see, that was such a bad example, because I actually do see pretty immediate results from vitamin C when I need to use it specifically to, treat something I feel coming on or whatever. I'm under more stress, because when you are more stressed, your body actually burns ascorbic acid more quickly. So you need more of it. I just paused to take a sip of my tea and I literally forgot like the next point that I was going to be going to. I guess just my overall point is prescriptions are very different from supplements. And I think that the way that they're taken can be different. Like you don't have to abide by the same things. Now, everybody has got to do what's right for them. And a lot of people are very meticulous about exactly how much they're taking of something. It varies from person to person. And I've been nervous because I am not a doctor. I don't even really think any of you should just like copy my supplementation regime, whatever. I mean, you've seen a lot of the vitamins that I take in my day in my life. But yeah, I'm not even sure how much there is to talk about with all of it. But I'll think about it. A lot of you have requested it, but that's kind of also a little bit of insight into my supplementation. So even though I strive to eat very healthy and a very well-rounded diet, and I try to go after what my intuition says, dude, I do the same thing with essential oils. I'll literally walk up and I'm like, what am I intuiting today? Which oil do I want? So I'm like I'm kind of a little hippy-dippy in that way. But I don't even know the point I was saying. I'll think about it, figure it out. That's kind of the gist though. And now you, I guess, kind of have the gist of like my thoughts around health and wellness. I do have to say, I've been filming this for way too long. My baby needs to go to sleep. I need to eat lunch. So I'm going to go now. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Literally every time I sit down to talk, literally every time by the end, I'm like, was that it? Like, was there even any point to this? Is anyone going to get anything out of this? Did I make any sense? So, yeah, that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I will hopefully see you back here soon for another tea talk. Like I said, I'm kind of going back and forth, day in my life, tea talk, day in my life, tea talk. And we're going to see if I like that and if I can stick with that. But that's kind of the tentative plan. So that's all. And yeah, bye guys.